action film, titled Snowpiercer. Released in the year 2013. Before we begin, warning, spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care.
Thank you, man.
In 2014, scientists planned to dispense CW7, a cooling material, into the top surface of the Earth, in order to tackle climate change. Unfortunately, the experiment backfires, hence creating a new ice age, and freezing everything to death. Only a few lucky ones who board a train survive after the apocalypse. 17 years later in 2031, the train still keeps going on, but the situation only gets worse for the tail compartment. The train is divided into different compartments with rich in the front, and poor in the tail section. Security guards badly treat the poor and only offer protein bars to eat. The situation is unacceptable for some people, including Curtis Everett, and his second-in-command Edgar, but they cannot take any action at the moment. One day they receive a secret message, telling them about a person named Nam Kong-soo, who is a security expert but is currently detained in the prison section. Curtis, along with his leader Gilliam, plans to take Nam out, because he is the only one who can help them open the gates to other sections leading them to the front. Gilliam tells him they need to take over the engine, because it's the only way to take control of the train. Curtis thinks of Gilliam as a father figure, and a potential leader, expressing his thoughts that he should run the engine instead of Welford, the current captain. Edgar is a young boy who is quite close to Curtis, and often discusses his plans for the revolt. He thinks Curtis should lead the mission after Gilliam, but he does not agree with the idea. As they talk, a few guards come over to their compartment, and ask children to come forward for medical inspection while parents are forced to stay back. After the inspection, Timmy and Andy are taken away as their parents are left behind crying for them. Andy's father Andrew gets angry and attacks Minister Mason with a shoe, but they punish him by placing one of his hands outside in the snow. Mason addresses the others, scolding them for throwing the shoe on her, and warning them not to attempt anything silly against her. She says that everyone is serving his preordained position, and they must accept their fate, otherwise the consequences will be devastating. Andrew's arm gets affected by the frostbite, and the guards forcibly cut it off. After covering his injured body, Gilliam asks Mason to give his message to Wilford, that he wants to talk to him. Thinking about the situation, Curtis assumes the guards are carrying empty guns, as they ran out of bullet during a previous revolt. He plans to attack them, but Gilliam stops him, asking him to be patient for some time. Upon Gilliam's suggestion, they finalize their plan to move forward to the front compartment and control the engine. After pulling their secret weapons out, the people in the tail section kill a guard, and take his keys to free Nam. Edgar opens the drawer to let him out. Curtis asks for his help, but he refuses, so they offer his favorite drug, chronal, which also acts as a combustible material, as a reward for opening up the gates. After arguing with them for a few minutes, he decides to help them out, but asks to take his daughter Yuna with him. They get to the next section but can't find anyone. While searching through the compartment, they get a chance to peek outside through the windows, but there is no sign of any life on Earth. Yuna, who is a clairvoyant, tells them about the next section, where they meet Paul, the cook for the protein blocks. While talking to Paul, they find out he uses insects to make those protein bars, but Curtis asks his friend to keep it a secret from the rest of them. While talking to them, they receive a clue about the water supply section, suggesting they should take charge of it instead of the engine. Paul tells its exact location, where water is collected and recycled for drinking purposes. Gilliam discusses the situation with Paul, and suggests taking it as the most crucial section, and they get their hands on it. They won't need to take over the engine. Curtis talks to Yuna, asking where she knows anything about the life outside the train, but realizes she was born on the train. Suddenly, she yells at Nam, warning him not to open the next door, but it's too late. They come across an army of guards equipped with axes and other such weapons. Before they can think of anything, they are attacked by the guards and start fighting against them. After an intense encounter fight where Edgar and Curtis fight right next to each other, the captain announces they have reached the Yekaterina Bridge, which depicts the passing of a year on the train, as it completes one circle on its track. Mason shows up again, scolding the men from the tail section for messing up the situation. As she talks, the train enters into a dark tunnel, giving the advantage to soldiers, who are equipped with night vision, and starts beating them up. Curtis and his men plan a counterstrike after lighting up the torches, and killing many of them, but Edgar is also stabbed to death. Curtis reaches over to Mason, and holds her hostage, forcing her to stop the guards. Meanwhile, the train gets out of the tunnel. Gilliam asks the survivors to get ready for the next fight, while Curtis sits by Edgar's dead body in despair. Tanya and Ender torture Mason, asking about their kids, but she reveals she handed them over to Wilford. She agrees to take them to the front compartment, but in exchange for her life, and they agree. At night, Gilliam asks Curtis about his next plan, and he reveals he is still determined to move forward. Before leaving, Gilliam instructs them about the front compartments and asks Curtis to be the new leader for the tail section. As they move forward, they arrive in an artificial garden and an aquarium. Mason offers them sushi, informing them it is only served twice to maintain the balance of food in the front compartments. They all start eating as the train passes through the ruins of life on Earth. But Curtis forces Mason to eat one of the protein bars served in the tail compartment. After passing through the meat section, they arrive at the kids compartment where Andy and Tanya start looking for their children but can't find them. Meanwhile, the teacher shows a video about Mr. Welford, explaining he is the one who built this self-sustainable train. The video reveals Welford knew about the consequences of CW7 and decided to build this luxury locomotive with a specified track that circles the Earth. The train, which is capable of resisting Arctic's cold weather and Africa's scorching heat, completes one trip in almost a year, and that's where they celebrate the new year at Yekaterina Bridge. She also shows them a few frozen human bodies outside who went off the train thinking they can survive outside, but only made a few miles before freezing to death. After the lecture, New Year eggs are served to everyone, but they are proved to be a trap, as guards once again pull up their hidden weapons and attack people in the tail section. One of Mason's allies, Frank, who made it to the tail section, executes Gilliam and sends the video to the classroom. Curtis gets furious and shoots Mason in return. As they continue their journey toward the front section, they realize how the rich are living a normal life while going on with their daily activities. As the train passes over a circular bridge, Frank and Curtis start shooting at each other, but survive due to bulletproof glass on the windows. They get to the next compartment but lose Tanya and Gray in another fight. After passing through different rich section compartments, Curtis, Nam, and Una finally arrive at the front gate, but Nam refuses to open it. Curtis gets into a fight with him, but he calms him down, offering a cigarette to smoke. As they talk, Curtis reveals how they spent their initial days back at the tail compartment. He thinks Wilford is responsible for all of this and he wants him to pay for this. Nam is moved by his story, but says he wants to open the gate to the outside instead. He tells Curtis that he has been monitoring a few landmarks over the years, and have come to know that the snow has started to melt, so he thinks they can survive outside now. He tries to blow the gate, but it is attacked by Claude, who invites Curtis into the front compartment to have dinner with Welford. When Curtis arrives inside the compartment, Welford praises him for making it this far as no one else could. He tells him how the system works inside the train. He reveals they have to maintain everything, including the food supply, water, as well as population. It's why they keep on initiating their revolts, so the people would kill each other and reduce the population inside the train. Welford says Gilliam was his partner who planned this insurgency like earlier ones. They had plans to end it at Yekaterina Bridge, but he launched the counterstrike, which only added up to their mission, raising the death toll even higher, but Gilliam had to pay the price. Curtis cannot believe his claims, but he proves it by dialing the call to the tail compartment and orders to kill 74% of the population. Welford takes him to the engine and offers to lead the train in his place. He also gives him a note revealing he was the one who kept on sending hints to them. He insists Curtis take up the charge and leave things as they are because it is crucial to maintain the balance. As they talk, Nam and Una fight against the front compartment passengers and manage to open up the gate. Curtis seems to agree with Welford's suggestion, but Una shows up asking him to open the floorboard, and they find Timmy inside working at the engine as a slave. Welford discloses that some parts of the engine went extinct, and they needed manual force to operate, but the tiny space only allowed small children. That's why they kept on bringing them from the tail compartments. Curtis gets Timmy out but loses his hand as the result. In the meantime, Andy shows up and takes his position at the engine, ignoring Curtis's requests to stop. Welford tells him everyone is working on his preordained positions, and he won't listen to him. Meanwhile, Yona lights up the fire, igniting the blast that blows up the gate. It leads to a huge explosion, creating an avalanche that derails the train. Nam and Curtis use their bodies to shield Yona and Timmy, while everyone else dies. In the end, Yuna and Timmy come out of the train wreck and spot a polar bear, indicating that life still exists on Earth. So this is for today. I will see you in the next one. Till then, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to remain updated about all our future videos. See you in the next one.
Guys, see, I think this is where it's these videos do the weakest. Is when you can't really tell the relationship between the characters, so you can't really tell why they're doing stuff. You don't tell how intense their relationships are, right? Some of these characters, they give their lives out to save somebody. But since you couldn't really tell if they were really good friends or like how tight it was, you can like what the fuck is this guy's kind of stupid. Why did you do that shit? So it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.